Hi, we're the Jacobits Learning Group. Welcome back. We're doing SAT math. So this is an easy question. The function g is defined by g of x equals x squared plus 9, for which value of x is g of x equal to 25. Now, I have the question copied here, but we're going to go over this. We're going to look at some steps. Now, the first thing you do is you go ahead and you get your add-ins. This is an add-in. Anything that gets added in is an add-in. Okay, this is your sum. Okay, so your sum is here, and then we just transform these. Okay, anybody who didn't take the exponential part of algebra, it's in Algebra 1 in some districts, Algebra 2 and others, but for the most part, it's basic Algebra 1. So when they ask you this, you should know this is a function, and they're telling you since this is the original equation, that's what the function g means. What is the value when you change this equation and make it this equation to this? Well, you don't know what g of x is. Okay, yet you're solving for it. But in the meantime, you're going to substitute this value, which is 25 here, and that's what I did here. So 25 equals x squared but 9. That's your new equation. You have taken a value for g of x, which is now 25. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and solve the equation. And the first thing we're going to do is take 9 away. You guys, be careful when you do this. You are apt to do things like start forgetting that, like a lot of people who did this problem, they treated this 25 as if it was 24, which is then going to give you a different equation. So make sure you do this. And even though you really don't need a calculator because you're under so much pressure, maybe you want to think about it. But the basic knowledge, because I'm one who doesn't like calculators, but the basic knowledge is to do this. Okay, so you see every single step. And I'm adding down. Okay, I'm adding down so I can make sure what my steps are, and then all I have to do is bring this down because I didn't take anything from it. This then becomes 16 equals x squared. Most of you already know what's happening, but we're going to go over it on the next slide. 16 equals x squared. Now, we need to get rid of this exponent. Do you realize that when you say x squared, this means variable? I'm going to go ahead and change variable, and I'm going to put like a squared, because that's the first place you realize that. So if you say a squared equals 4, what you're telling it to do is to take this and change this to an a and put the square root of 4 over here so that a equals 2. And then if you had it in an equation, you could add it back. But that's all this means. This a squared means this, that when you square this, when you go the square root of 4 is 2. And then you go back and go 2 squared equals 4. Because 2 times 2 equals 4. Okay, you are basically saying that you're doing kind of like the same equation and like inverses of each other. Because this radical sign, that's what this is, changes this. So obviously you want a radical sign over here and you want x by itself. So you go x equals, I'm going to keep the square here for now, the square root of 16. Now we want to get rid of the square root, and we want to get rid of this x. So now what we can do is we can go x equals the square root of 16 It doesn't matter when you get rid of the square as long as you know you have to get rid of the square root or the exponent value. And now x equals 4. Well, let's go on to the next slide and see if that plugs back into the equation. Okay, so now we have the equation set up as 25 equals x squared plus 9. That we're going to check it, and we chose choice A. This is a real SAT, so if you go back and you check it, you're going to see that's the right answer. It was from SAT practice test on the College Boards. This is -9 on both sides. I've been doing this for at least 13 years. And even I almost forgot that 14 minus 9, I was about to put 24. I was like, oh goodness, because that's what happens when you do this for years. Sometimes you get, you're doing it so fast you forget. Check yourselves, please, over and over again. Is 4 squared 16? Yes, because 4 times 4 from basic times tables equals 16. And while we're at it, let's discuss these answers. This 9 is meant to do this because a lot of people are going to try to do this. 25 equals, they're going to try to factor this and go x plus 3. And then they're going to think, oh, that's 9. But if you go x plus 3, even if you go x plus 3, that'd be 21. There is no square root of 21. So, a lot of people just are going to try to do things that are different. So if you take this out of brackets and you subtract 3 from this becomes 22. And then you have x's. You have a mixed number, a little bit over 4. So none of those are here. These are all solid numbers. A lot of people are going to put 25 here and then go 25 times 25 is 625 plus 9, and then they're going to try to do the square root of 634, and they're going to get a decimal anyway. They're going to get 25, and then think, oh, I just did something wrong, and then choose this guy, number 5. That's wrong. 9 times 9 is 81. The only way you would get 9 is if you did this and you put the square here, because 3 times 3 is 9. So a lot of people are going to get rushed and just hit the wrong question. And 13 times 13 is, that's a Pythagorean triplet. That's 169. 169 minus 3 is 166. Is this a perfect square? It's not a perfect square. Okay, so how could you get such an answer and come back to 13? It would be 12.88, and so the square root of that is 12.88. So a lot of people might go ahead and factor up that if it's 12.88, they meant to say 13, which is why they put these numbers so closely. That's how they can trust your acumen to see who's closer to each other. Solve this, think about it. This one's kind of easy. Let's go on to the next. When you get ready to do this question, please only look at what's going on, what they're telling you. Do not look at what a die really is and start going, well, there are either 8 sides or 6 sides, or 6 sides or 9. This isn't what the question is asking you. It's not asking you to start interpreting. It's asking you just look at what this is. Each face of a fair 14-sided die is labeled with a number from 1 to 14, with a different number appearing on each face. They're giving you hints too. If the die is rolled 1 time, what is the probability of rolling a 2? Please do not jump over here and choose B, because people are inclined to think 2 out of 14. That's the quick way to trick your mind. Look at what is going on. They are asking you a number from 1 to 14 on each face 1 time. So you only have 1 time to choose a die on a 14-sided face. You could draw this out if you wanted to try it that way. You could also, or write this out, this isn't really drawing, or you could actually think about what's going on and you would choose A. Because it's 1 out of 14 times. It doesn't matter what the number is. So now the next one thing that you do is, if you look at why I chose that, you are choosing this number. Count them out. You have 14. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. You have 14 tries. So the total number goes on the outside or under. This is total. Goes on the bottom, right? This is your denominator. I said outside. It's a denominator. Okay, and the number you're choosing is 1 time. It's your numerator. So it's done for you. It's 1 out of 14. Okay, these are all distractors, this C. This means that you rolled it more than 2 times, and so does this. It means you rolled it more than 2 times. But here's a real situation here. If you reduce this one, C, this would be 6 over 7. Did you choose it more than 6 times? No. You only chose 1 time, and the number happened to be 2, but you only chose it 1 time. So get this one right. Okay, that's easy. Any questions? We're at jacobitslearning@gmail.com or kjacobits@jacobitslearning. Thank you. Have a good afternoon.